Okay.
Go ahead.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here today and opening of this meeting, we thank Thee for Thy many blessings which Thou hast given to each of us, and for helping us to strive to do well and to understand the materials, and that we can apply it to our own lives and be able to have a wonderful day today, and to help us to get many things accomplished done today. And please help us to have Thy Holy Spirit to be with us in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so we pull up the notes here.
So what do you guys think of the case study?
I didn't care for it.
Well, let me read the synopsis real fast, and then we'll discuss it, okay? So the case describes the dilemma of a marketing manager, Thomas Green, who after being rapidly promoted to a new position is harshly criticized by his boss. Green and his boss disagree on work styles and market projections. Green believes the sales goals set by his boss are based on creative accounting and grossly overstated the current market environment. A mood of silent conflict develops quickly between Green and his boss, and Green is concerned that his boss is building a case to fire him. Green's situation is one in which his failure to adapt his work style and fully understand the demands and boundaries of his new position may lead to his discharge. Okay, so what do you see as the key issues in this case?
Well, so I'm just going to state this position right off front. Even though this was written from, I don't know, Thomas's viewpoint, he's the bad guy. To me, he's the bad guy.
I agree with Jennifer.
My first recommendation was fire him. Get him out.
Excellent.
I agree. He's always so different than me.
I agree with that, but I also would say that I think in some way it's McDonald's fault for hiring him too quickly, promoting him, because he's just brand new. He's only been there 4 months before he got promoted as senior.
Right.
I think that was setting him up for failure at the beginning because he didn't have any experience with this company quite yet.
It definitely was one of those, like, here you go. Oh, you have to deal out with the fallout with this guy because he was going to hire his replacement.
Political. Yeah,
yes.
It's totally political.
Yes.
So you have to wonder if she has something against Davis and that's why she did it, or I don't know. But that was a completely
I think it was a good old. I think there was a good old boys going on. They went to the same school. They connected. There was that pal thing going. I think there was a lot of that going on.
Agreed.
A little flirty.
And what? Oh, flirting.
A little flirty.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
It's last week's case all over again.
I know.
And I also had to agree in some degree that it could have been Davis' fault too. I understand that he's the boss and he need to make Green to adapt, but I also think him holding a grudge against Green ever since that meeting could also potentially cause him to force Green to be fired too.
No, Gary, I thought that at the beginning too, but then more as I went through and thought about it, I don't disagree that he had a grudge to begin with, but then I think that it moved into, you know what? You're not doing your job, and I'm trying to help you by telling you what you need to do, and you're not doing it.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I agree with that. I'm just also saying that he didn't give any positive note back to him to make him feel like to trust in David's agreement.
But I also, I picked out that, sorry, my phone's ringing at the same time. I pointed out that Davis did not spend enough time training him properly.
I can see that. He came in and he observed for a week, and then he kind of started taking things and working on it, but it was just kind of like, here, I expect you to take this over and do it.
Right. Yeah, I felt that way.
Yeah. Any other comments on this?
Do you think that Davis was looking at Green like a young little teenager that needed fathered?
Probably.
I think he was looking at him as a young, inexperienced, a little bit cocky, not willing to work with the system, and just kind of got frustrated and said, "You know what? I don't know what to do with this guy."
Yeah.
Agreed.
I wrote young and cocky on my.
Yeah.
I put egomaniac.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and
Also, in this case study, I kind of feel like it's like everyone's fault for what going to happen to Green. I think, in some degrees.
Right.
What do
I
you
think
think?
everyone had a role to play, but I also think that Green was responsible for his own behavior and his own initiative to go and figure out what he needed to do. And it said that at one point he totally ignored and tried to not interact with him at all.
Yeah. He just put his nose down and worked.
And I felt like he was campaigning to get people on his side against Davis because of his one disagreement with Davis's number.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? One thing I thought of was he said, "Stop making calls for people." Do you think that maybe he was a little like Catherine and was evaluating?
Stephanie, hold on for just a second. Someone's speakers are up and it's making a lot of feedback and making it squeak. Oh. Okay, Stephanie, try again.
So in that, Frank said, "Stop making calls for the meeting people." But was he being like Catherine and evaluating?
I think he was trying to build his case against Davis.
Well, I don't mean when he's evaluating like Davis. I mean more when he's meeting these people, and I mean it says that he went to the different cities meeting people and talking to them. So, do you think that he was finding his position and seeing where there was work, where there wasn't work, kind of like Catherine was evaluating all the relationships in the company?
Do you think he was evaluating what? Say that one more time, please.
Like where there was work, where there was opportunities, what was a dead end, all the different clients that they had. He went around and met them all. Do you think, even though he wasn't making sales, he was doing like Catherine and just evaluating everybody in each avenue?
I kind of took that as that he was still in sales mode and not in strategic marketing mode. So he was going to get their opinions about stuff, which that's not the marketing job. You know, I mean, he's supposed to be coming up with strategies to change their opinions rather than trying to just go with
listen to theirs.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Go ahead, Garrett.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
You know, also mentioned in the reading too that the client was agreeing with his ideas, but they want now data from him. He's not showing the data to prove that they should agree to some of these ideas that Green has been offering.
Yeah.
So just a little more preparation on his part to make sure he's crossed all his T's and dotted all of his I's to present everything that they need to make a decision.
But does he even know how to run the numbers? This was one of my questions.
I don't necessarily know that. I kind of, well, no, that was a solution. Never mind. I'll bring it up later. But yeah.
I don't think he does. I mean, I think that he had some good ideas, and that's what he convinced McDonald with. But as far as like actually putting the ideas on paper and convincing, you know, figuring out how they actually work, I think he's just, I don't think he knows how to do that. And I think that Davis would be willing to train him, but he's got such a bad attitude about Davis that he's not willing to take any. Yeah, he's not going to take anything that Davis says and do it. as far as I could tell, he never followed up on anything Davis told him to do. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
I don't
just-
think he did. I don't think he did.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Okay,
maybe he resented being fathered. You know, it was
Mhm.
more of a reprimand, like you're a bad boy. You know.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know. That's
and
kind of
being
how it came across to me.
Yeah.
being a narcissist, which was another word I used for him. One of my solutions talked about how you deal with a narcissist, and Frank Davis did everything totally wrong in dealing with somebody that has an ego, like
Mhm.
like Green does. So
Nice. Okay, if you were Shannon McDonald, would you have hired Thomas Green? Why or why not?
No.
We weren't there to see what he smooshed her with.
I think
Yeah.
he was a very, very good salesman,
yeah,
and he used those skills to
To
sell
sell
himself.
himself. Mhm.
Yeah.
yep,
But
I
she
think what McDonald's does is like keep him in the sale area, but not promote him being a senior market specialist.
Can you imagine
McDonald's-
how upset Davis would have been, though? I mean, he was expecting to be the one to hire, and then she goes and hires this kid who has no experience at all.
and
Right.
not only that, but hires him, doesn't just hire him to be a market specialist, but hires him to be a senior market
Right.
specialist,
right.
which most people have to spend 4 to 5 years being a market specialist before they get promoted to that. And
Right.
he just skips that step altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And she
I'd be ticked.
specifically said, I know I have reservations about your lack of managerial experience. She said that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Agreed.
she does tell him, I hope you, and I have it underlined here because I was like, wow, she tells him, like, you don't have experience, but this is what I expect. I hope you compensate for your lack of experience
Right.
and seek out guidance from some of the more seasoned managers.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Which I
he-
didn't see him doing that either.
No,
Well, and
definitely not.
I think McDonald kind of led him on a little bit too by being buddies with him at the beginning, and then just kind of turning her back and saying, "Yeah, good luck."
Sink or swim.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean,
Agreed.
I don't blame her because that wasn't necessarily her job to mentor him, but I think she kind of led him to believe that
Mhm.
that relationship was going to continue.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Frank Davis for a second. And it's describe him and what does he value and what is the end goal he is after. So let's just talk about what does he value?
I think he value information, details about what the person is going to be doing, you know?
In communication.
Communication, knowing if there's a meeting that he might need to be attended to one of these clients. Very detail-oriented person, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of experience.
I think he's a presenter. I think he wants to look good with graphs and numbers and data and that's how he communicates. And so he expects those under him to do that.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
He's obviously a valued employee because he got promoted to being the director from, you know, because he had been the senior manager. I'm sure there were other people that they chose from and they chose him. So he obviously had qualities that had proven himself.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
I agree
Yeah.
with that also. Okay, what do you think the end goal? What is the end goal that he is after?
I think to make the goals that they've set as a department, you know, to
Yeah.
grow and all of that.
Do you think he kind of looks at this new kid in his position and just kind of thinks like he's gonna topple all of this stuff that I've built up, you know, and this
I brought that
department, he's gonna just topple what I've done and it's gonna become, you know, crummy or something like that.
Yeah,
I agree
think
to
so.
some of that. Like, not to like the extent of saying he's the one who's toppling everything, but
Mhm.
like a thrown to the side, just
Yeah.
annoying, cannot do anything that he asks him to do. Just
But it
like
also-
a bug,
it
you just
also
need to get rid of.
Sorry, Garrett. It also points out that Davis and Green sat down for 2 hours after their initial meeting and laid out a plan to improve the situation. So that shows to me that Davis was willing to put in some time and effort, but Green didn't reciprocate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also on top of that, Davis was not, as much as he probably did not care for Green, he was not walking around back talking to other people in the office about him where Green was doing that. And so Davis was, in my opinion, showing he was the bigger man there and giving him the chance, and not that verbal around the office banter that Green was doing.
Yeah.
So what about the idea that an office worker told Green about some paper that Davis was talking to McDonald? That was a curious one.
The email?
The email?
Yeah.
Somebody shared that email. Why did they have it?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, sometimes for CEO or top managers, they always have like someone else to help them manage like their calendar and all that because they're so busy. There are some people that has assistants that do all the little stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we can really talk too much about that since we don't know who sent it.
Right.
True.
But still, that kind of gives you a little insight into maybe what the culture is like there too.
Yeah,
a little
I'm gonna
bit.
say to the culture of the company in general.
Mhm.
Right.
All right, let's talk about Thomas Green. What does he value?
Money.
Prestige. Title.
Yep.
Yeah.
Title
He's
man.
very, very eager to work his way up, and he does have some characteristics of a hard worker. But it seems like I think Sia said it. He's more driven by the title and prestige of moving up and having that position.
Well, that was one of the problems that I put, was that, he went there with the intent to, I'm going to go climb as fast as I can, and I'm going to show them who I am.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad thing if you're doing it in the right way, but he was just stepping over people and doing his own thing.
Oh yeah, and it definitely doesn't make any friends for sure.
No.
That's very true. And also it's also telling the case study about how much of a pay raise he was getting, a lot more when he became a senior. So it's like it kind of shows that he was more driven to that prosperity and entitlement.
Yeah. True. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One thing I was thinking is that he is an incredible salesman. He's obviously mastered the sales level and schmoozing clients. That's obviously his personality, because he schmoozed McDonald. So to me, it would just make sense from a boss's standpoint to keep somebody in a sales level where they are outperforming and bringing those dollars in.
Yeah.
And so he was obviously a hard worker, but just power hungry and all those things.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and something I hadn't really thought about, because you could put him as the top salesperson or the senior sales rep or whatever, but would he ever really be happy with that? No, he's going to be driven for more of the title and the prestige, and so
yeah, I agree.
That's what's driving him. Yeah, that's kind of sad too.
And especially now that they've promoted him, even if they say, well, we still want to keep you at the company, but we want you to be there, it's not going to work, because his ego will be bruised and he'll be done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, anything else on Thomas Green before we move on?
I think one other small point is that he only has a bachelor's. He did have 6 years experience, but on paper, certifications and all that, he doesn't have a ton to promote him. And so that's something, anyway, that was just a small point I thought of.
No, and I think this case is kind of goes along with some of the other ones we've done, where it's like you have to have an MBA to be in this position or something like that. So yeah. How do the actions of Thomas Green differ from the expectations of Frank Davis? We've kind of discussed that a little bit already.
Yeah.
They've kind of tried to hash it out, and Frank Davis has tried to help the situation and make a plan, and Thomas Green just kind of falls short on that, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Okay. Is everyone in agreement that the one who's mostly at fault is Thomas Green in this situation, or are there any other thoughts on that?
I think most of it is Thomas Green, but I also had to say that the other two play a little bit part of it. And
I think McDonald carries some of this
yeah,
because
I agree.
she put him there, and so she needs to swallow that one and say if there's money lost because they have to find someone else or retrain someone, it's on her plate.
Yeah, I would blame McDonald more than Davis because I think Davis made an effort.
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just don't know. It almost make, Davis, just from reading through it, almost make it look like that he does hold a grudge against him. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Yeah.
if you were Thomas Green, what actions would you take?
I'll be looking for a new job.
Well, I will be honest. I put in mind that if he can, because at the very last paragraph, didn't it say something like, maybe I should really do what Davis is asking me to do? And I just chuckled when I read that. I'm like, well, you think? That's a great idea.
Yeah,
So,
6 months ago, you should have done that. Yeah.
so one of my things was is if he could literally step back, admit that he was wrong and do the things that are on that list and work through it and humble himself a little bit, it would be in the best interest for him to do better. But I don't know that would happen.
I don't see that happening because
Yeah,
I think he's been, I don't think that's in his nature just because based on the negativity that he's been spreading and the people that he's been trying to get on his side, and they're telling him, oh yeah, stand your ground. I think he's going to dig in.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate.
I think another thing that if Green does get fired, I think he should take the experience that he had and try to reel in some of the rust of trying to get an entitlement.
You would hope, but that's not usually how it works.
True.
Yeah. No, he's a true definition of a narcissist. So he's not really. I don't think he's going to blame himself for any of this. He's going to. Yeah, I don't think he's going to take responsibility. He's going to blame everybody else.
Obviously,
and I think he'll put it all on Davis and say Davis had it out for me from day one.
Yep, I agree.
Yep.
All right. So how does power and office politics come into play?
I had too many dealing with politic people in work business. Just I'm not involved in it, but for some reason people like to tell me what's going on in manager levels and all that. It's just
So I'm working a little bit ahead because I'm going to be gone for a week camping and out of internet control or internet access. And so I thought an interest in that you'll get to it next week in the 5 dysfunctions of a team, but it says politics is when people choose their words and actions based on how they want others to react rather than based on what they really think.
Oh, that's
I thought that was a really good definition of if it really is being political, are you? That's a good way to gauge if you're being political or not.
Interesting.
Yeah, that book is pretty good so far.
I love it. Yeah.
I do too.
I mentioned it to my husband the other day that I was reading the book and I couldn't quite remember the title, and he goes, is it called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team? Because a guy I work for, HR just gave that to him to read.
Oh my heck!
I said, yep, that's what it's called.
You're talking about one
Gotta start reading.
I thought that was so funny. He's like, oh. I told him, I said, well, if your friend needs to join our group to discuss it, he's more than welcome to.
I enjoyed the book just because not only in a soy-like setting, but it also help you to understand from what a CEO, from her point of view, is trying to help the company.
Yeah.
But I think politics in companies is huge, depending on the people too, because some will be just trying to, like the case study example, like Green trying to get higher proceeds and all that, while stepping on others, while others are trying to work as a team, and that always seemed to be a major factor in companies just clashing head with each other.
Yeah, because you're always going to have those people that take the credit for other people's work, and so unless you really have a way to evaluate what each person is contributing, and the people in leadership positions are really paying attention to that, then they're going to be easily swayed by these charismatic, good
salesperson.
Salespeople, exactly.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they're selling it, yeah.
Yeah, selling themselves.
Yep.
And it's like a whole complete different world, especially if, for an example, in a warehouse situation, the office and working out in the warehouse is a whole two different field, different worlds of thinking. And it's very interesting. It really is to see how much you understand from each point of view on how different the world is between them.
I think that politics comes into play in lots of different aspects of our lives, though.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, and I think that
Very true.
You still need to learn to exist and live and thrive in those environments. So finding words for yourself to make everything, and nothing's ever going to be fair, but you need to still figure out how to manage yourself through that.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny, Darcy, because I tell my 16-year-old daughter that almost every day.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. Because you get all the drama from school, from all the different ages of the kids, and you're like, oh my gosh, if you think that this ends when you're an adult, you are so wrong.
It's also interesting, just like going through that phase and then looking back on them. It's like, really? Did I act like that? Really?
Well, and just thinking about this power and politics thing, because, our office is kind of going through a little bit of something right now where, somebody's hired who somebody doesn't like. And so there's this game going of like, well, I've been here for 25 years, so I should get my way. And, her way is not necessarily what's good for the business. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it's crazy to see this, like you're saying, it's crazy to see how it plays out in real life when you're kind of thinking like, okay, guys, we're adults here.
Right.
Like, our what we think and what we feel plays a little bit of a part, but when you make it like this whole big old thing and I'm going to quit my job if you hire that person, that's become more personal mixed with the political, and that's not right, because it's not necessarily what's right for the business either.
Definitely.
Oh, when business is going through a rough time too, that's play a big role on if you want to decide if you want to stay with them or not too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go on to our next question, and it is, what are each of their what are the conflict styles going on here?
Conflict.
Green is avoiding.
Okay, that's okay. So what are the things that are taking place with the avoidance?
I say passive aggressive. He's passive aggressive.
Okay.
Because he's not confronting Davis, or he confronted Davis once, but he's going around the back and building a case against him. So that's totally passive aggressive.
Yeah. And then, sorry, go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, you're fine.
Well, and also, it goes on in the case study and talks about how he decides that he's going to work on this project and kind of just ignores what's his name, Davis. Mm-hmm. So that's not helping either.
When you avoid things, they build up, and then at some point they explode.
Yeah.
So,
but that's exactly what. Sorry, that's exactly what Davis did too, though. He just built up this list against Green, and then just slammed him with this whole list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting, after the first email that Davis sent to McDonald, she didn't respond.
Yeah.
at least to our knowledge, she didn't respond.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
That's
So
true.
I
I
think
didn't
she
think
was
about that.
avoiding it also. I think that she didn't want to have to deal with it, probably because she knew she made a mistake in hiring him.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Feeling the guilt now.
So we've got avoidance. What are some other conflict styles we have going on in this case?
Well, you've got the gossip that he's creating in the environment of the workplace with other employees. That gossip builds just some negativity everywhere.
Yeah.
Lack of trust because people aren't sure if they can trust him to keep a confidence because he's turning around and, telling them stuff too.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, what about competition?
Well, I think
So that's
I think Davis saw Green as competition. He had done his time. He had put in the effort to move up the ladder, and then all of a sudden, this young guy gets promoted out of nowhere. I think that would be a little bit concerning to Davis.
And also, like, Davis was supposed to choose someone else for that position too. And with Green all of a sudden called from McDonald, I think in some way that also added to the fact that he didn't like Green a little bit much because he'd been there for, like you said, sorry, that he'd been there for a long time and now he's finally in that position to choose, and all of a sudden that was taken away.
Was he supposed to choose, or did he just have it in his head that he would be the one to choose?
I think it said he was supposed to.
Yeah.
Okay. Then that makes a different story.
Yeah. Okay, what about collaboration? Okay, hold on. So in the competition, it's characterized by aggressive and uncooperative behavior. So we definitely see that in here. It says compromise and collaboration. So compromise is each party gives up something to gain something. Did anything like that happen in this at all?
I think Davis sold some of it after telling him what's wrong and then willing to help work with him for that 2 hours of making a plan. But on Green's part, there's no compromise. That's only what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder too why McDonald didn't talk to Davis about who she hired and why she hired him.
That was something I brought up as well. Like he should have been in on the hiring process. I mean, I don't know if he was or not. I didn't get that indicated from the case. But if he's going to be working with this person, he should have been allowed to talk with him as well, because he needs to have trust in who's going to replace him, because they're going to be working so closely together.
Well, and even if McDonald would have hired him without talking to Davis, I think it would have been she should have been a better manager to Davis and said, "Hey, let's sit down and I want to tell you why I think that he could do it, but I'm going to need your help in training him."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Agreed.
But
Hey, Stephanie, what were you going to say?
this is coming from the mom that hasn't been in the workplace. Do you really get a say in who you work with?
Sometimes you do, but not very often.
No, not often.
I think when you're a boss, though, and there should be a collaborative effort, there usually is, I guess not in all businesses, but there's a collaborative effort of who is hired between the bosses. That's what I would.
Yeah.
So,
I
and
think
David is the boss,
Sorry.
and so that's where I think he should have had some say.
I think it's a little bit disrespectful of McDonald to go ahead and hire the position without talking to Davis. I think she showed a lack of respect for him.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I do agree.
And going back to what you said, Stephanie, I think bosses try to think about the office dynamic, but it doesn't really look like it was something that was thought about in this situation. So, all right. Any other thoughts on that? Okay, what should he do now? And I'm guessing this is having to do with
Green.
With Green, and this is more specific about facts and reasons, specific facts and reasons.
Well, I think it was a mistake for him to jump out and buy a house.
Very much so. And the new furniture. That's
Dang
where
it.
the cockiness came in.
So he probably should have just rented for a little while.
So the cart before the
Longer.
horse. Okay.
I
Well,
think,
but he did that, and so he's really gonna. I think he's gonna dig in to try to save his job because he's made these other decisions on the side.
so on that note, Jen, I also thought since he had already made those commitments of buying a house and moving, leaving his girlfriend, I thought he may be willing to stay in the company in a different role just to save his job, a job.
Right.
Well, as I read the end, I mean, I go back to this last two paragraphs, and he really, as he's driving and he's replaying in his head these events, and he's recognizing some things, and that's brought up. And so I really felt like maybe he is going, in order to keep his house and keep his salary and keep his furniture, is he going to, okay, if Davis was indeed trying to fight, like help him, maybe he should just work on what he said. So that's kind of what I thought, just with how that was worded.
I wondered how hard it was to be his girlfriend.
Well, she is in Atlanta.
Yeah. But something too, I just have to wonder, I don't necessarily think he would be willing to stay in a different capacity, because it's kind of like he's got the egg in his face, and so now people know this situation and all this dirty laundry's been aired. So does that
But
make
the other guy did
him
it in the
somebody
other company.
can respect?
Well, I think he's going to do whatever he has to do to save face, and so is that going to lead him to actually do what Davis says, or is that going to lead him further down the road of trying to convince McDonald that Davis is just making up stuff, and he's got two roads he could take.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll make the choice like the CEO did in the 5 Dysfunctions book, where he was willing to step down into a different role because he realized he just wasn't able to do that role.
Yeah. I wonder if he has the maturity, like Jen keeps talking about his narcissistic, he's the definition of it, but I don't know if he has the maturity to do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Question: can you actually move to a lower department though after being hired that high? Because I never seen it in any companies where someone
that
went
depends on
to
the
lower
company.
position. Most of the time, it's like you're there or you get fired.
Yeah,
I think that you have to be very humble and willing to do that, and really want to keep the job within the company for whatever reason.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Is there anything that he can do to salvage this situation? I mean, we've talked a little bit about how it's like, well, he can document and come out swinging and make a case against Davis, but if he were to go back to work and go to McDonald's on the following Monday or whatever and say, hey, look, this is my part in this and this is what I can do to fix it, and talk to Davis, do you think that would be helpful in the situation, or is it too far gone?
Well, I don't think that Davis is in a position to say when it's too far gone. He didn't have any say in the hiring. I doubt he's going to have any say in the firing.
Okay.
It's how I visit. That's kind of how I'm viewing the thing, that it's really going to be up to McDonald, because I just don't see Frank having any pull.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Davis really does have the company's best interest at heart. And so if Crean did come around, I think Davis would, I would hope, but I think he would help him. I don't think he's going to be his best friend by any means, but.
Okay. All right. What gospel connections are pertinent to this?
Ooh, humility.
No, so not
Yeah,
prideful.
humility. Don't dig in. Were we just talking about this last week about being, humble and recognizing when you've done something wrong?
Okay.
And And
Yeah.
rather than digging into your position, changing it like immediately, just change.
Yeah. It's easier to admit when you've done something and move forward than to dig in and make a fool of yourself. Then
Oh
it's
gosh,
harder.
definitely.
Oh yeah.
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 Well, if you think of that way, then it almost like the atonement. Well, if you're stubborn and sinning, it's going to cause you even more greater pain. But if you're willing to accept your fault and humbly pray for forgiveness and finally be lifted of that burden, you'll be a much better person coming around. So in some way, there's a similar situation with this guy. Is he willing to humble himself and willing to submit to what he need to do to improve himself? He'd probably be a lot more happier.
Yeah.
Something else I thought of was that just the negativity, how Frank was only pointing out to Green, the things he was doing wrong and the negative here. It just all, the whole situation was negative. And I think that that's not how the Lord deals with us. Like, even when we've done something super stupid, he doesn't say, "Oh, you're so dumb. You're so," he loves us, and we still feel, when we go to him, we still feel a positive, I think we still feel a positive vibe. Like, okay, this is, the potential that I have. Let's focus on that rather than, all the stupid stuff you do. He doesn't dwell on your negative.
Mm-hmm. Those are really great points, Garrett and Jen. They're really good.
And
they also tied back. Sorry, go ahead.
I was thinking about the last book that we read, with the trust, and pulling out that positive and giving pieces of trust and building on those things. I think that is within that same line.
And that's why I think that why is one of the reasons why Green was pulling away from him, ignoring him, because there's no positive coming from him too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that when you receive no compliment, no nothing from a person. You usually tend to stay away from them.
Yep.
I work in the apartment industry. I'm in the management, the corporate office, but so we've been doing some training, and some of it was on customer relations and being proactive, and just there's these different modules. But one of the things that I didn't realize, but it's really come to the forefront here the last several months, is that when an apartment manager and a tenant have negative altercations all the time, the tenant will think of that manager with a negative connotation and not want to deal with them anymore. And so, it's really like, oh, okay, you want to work to create positive outcomes and positive interactions so that relationship can be built. And, obviously that's not happening for Green and Davis. And so there is no positivity in that situation.
Which explains why he was avoiding him.
That sounds like the situation my apartment is in right now.
Oh. Uh-oh. I heard someone else say something. Was it you, Stephanie?
Somewhere in some of the reading for one of my 3 classes, it talked about talked about a company that would they gave their customer service reps the authority just to take care of the customer. And so that helps. That's the same. That's the opposite of what's going on.
Happening here.
Yeah, the agreeing factor.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else on this case before we kind of conclude? Anything? All right.
No,
so
I do want. Sorry, I want to hear Stephanie, because you said we see things differently. What was your solution? Because I said fire green.
My conclusion of my thing said, I think this workplace relationship can be repaired, but it won't be easy. Green needs to be humble enough to be open to learn from Davis, but Davis must put his frustrations aside to be a good teacher. McDonald took a big chance on Green, but she didn't seem to care to make sure he was trained and capable of the job. The warning she gave Green about Davis shows that she knew there could be animosity between them, but she didn't care to take steps to avoid it. Dynamic Displays needs to have some workshops and training on trust and inter-office gossip so that future company relationships don't end up like Green and Davis.
Great job.
Yeah.
Nice.
Really good.
So I didn't agree with you guys, but I got there, I guess. I mean, I didn't say fire him. I'm optimistic, I guess. Make it
You're
good.
optimistic that he can change.
Yeah. Stop throwing him in the
Hey, it could
trash.
happen.
It could
Stop throwing him in
happen.
the trash.
Miracle can happen.
That's true.
Yeah, see, I'm being the devil because I'm saying nope, he can't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, so keeping everything that we've discussed in mind, I'm going to tell you guys what happened at the end of this, okay?
Ooh.
All right, there's more. Let me tell you the rest of the story. After McDonald's February 5th, 2008 email, Green took the offensive against his boss. Do you really think that's going to turn out well? He crafted a series of memorandums, emails, reports, and projections that exposed inaccuracies and creative forecasting. This data enabled Green to build some alliances with other marketing personnel who used the data to ultimately side with him. Oh.
I
On
see. I
April
told you it
4th,
would dig in.
Oh,
Dig it
yes.
in.
It gets better. Here you go.
Oh.
On April 4th, it was announced that Frank Davis was being moved laterally to an undefined special project. However, Green's tactics were seen as overly brutal by many in the company, and although he won the battle against his boss, his career was irreparably harmed. McDonald distanced herself from him. By July of 2008, Green announced he was resigning from his position to pursue full-time studies for an MBA. Yeah.
They should have fired him. They should have just fired him.
They should have. If you're going to dig in like that and just bring the house down, man.
Yeah. Dang.
Wow.
He's a bad apple. I knew it. I knew it.
It says, we can only speculate what would have occurred if Green had tried to help Davis work out the discrepancies and problems with forecast. Perhaps both would have succeeded. So,
Wow.
Wow.
Davis really lost out there. Holy
yes.
wow.
So pretty much, Green just destroyed both of their careers.
Yep.
Dang.
Ouch.
That's horrible. I hope I get extra points for getting the answer right that they should have fired him.
We can all use extra points in this class.
So, I guess this is a prime example of how when we're given the opportunity to better ourselves and be put in a better situation, that it's important to remain humble and be teachable. That's something I put in there. It's important to be teachable because that's when we, you never know what you're going to be able to learn from that.
So
Well, and I think it's important for us to think even too, that even when we get stuck with somebody that we're ready to strangle, like Davis, you've got to stay positive because you don't want to be making enemies because you
Definitely
never know,
not.
especially with, if they're little egomaniacs, you really have to watch yourself because that's scary. That's just scary. But
Yeah, and this is a quote that I used in my my case study, but it is relevant to hearing the conclusion of this. It says, being teachable and humble stand out as the most significant and critical attributes for success, not only in business, but in any endeavor. Their evil twin counterparts, pride and arrogance, are the cornerstones of failure. So,
and also another good point to point out is that because of this thing, he wasn't only affecting himself, he can easily affect everyone else around him.
He was the thorn in the side.
Even to the point of forcing someone to lose their position too. That is devastating when people do that.
Well, and think about, he rallied other people. He rallied others on his side, so he totally took down the whole camaraderie of what was going on in the office.
Yep. That has happened. People will take sides.
It's pretty sad that the culture of their company would allow something like that to happen. So.
Now it almost makes me
Alright.
feel like that McDonald is the sole blame of destroying the company.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she really did. That decision that she made really had big effects. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that teaches you that sometimes you make decisions and you don't know where that's going to go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes it can go real bad and sometimes it can go real good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Agreed.
So any other thoughts, guys? We're about out of time. So
That's it.
It was awesome. Thanks,
well,
Tabitha.
thank you guys.
Thanks,
Good
Tabitha.
discussion. Yeah, no problem.
Have a great day,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.